CentralValleyTalk.com.
Hi, welcome back to the show, The Process of Change, with your host, Alondra Hildreth-Williams. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Darla Nunes, and she's a certified mediation for motivation. Welcome, Darla. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing just great.
Love your show.
Thank you. Now I want to know, I would like information on what it is that you do exactly.
Well, we have what I like to say is a lazy generation now. I teach people how to get along, problem resolution, basically go in and teach people how that they can get through what they're going through. With mediation, mediation is a fabulous thing. It's a fabulous tool to use. It's a good thing. It's not bad. Yes. And we have a society, I call them boomerang kids. They're adult children that move back home with their parents, and they're like, you owe me generation. And then the parents, they can't get rid of their kids. Yes. They use up their electricity, eat their food up, won't work. And then the parents are stuck. We don't know what to do. I'm a neutral person. I go in and just get back to some Bible basics here, some real stuff.
How long have you been doing this?
About 5 years.
About 5 years?
All my life, really. But certified 5 years. But I'm a born neutral. I'm not. There's right or wrong. It's right or it's wrong.
Okay, and how is it that you receive your clients?
Private, word of mouth, yeah. And when I really first got started, I needed a mediator, and there was one mediator that would come on your property to you, and he was in L.A., a retired judge, at $3,000 a day.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow. There's a need for somebody to go into a home so that the person, I can view and see, it doesn't take rocket science to see what a problem is. Yes. If you're well-schooled and well-seasoned with, I call it risky business. We don't have to call it drug behavior or, hey, just risky business,
Okay. Do you like working with youth gangs,
I love
juvenile?
I love it. There's where the need is. The need is Christian support, boots to the ground. That's what I call it, boots to the ground. Get out there and show some youth that you care, that you love them. I'd like to start up I'm trying to get together a organization now. I'm going to call it Role Play by Case Scenario, teaching our very young how to react to certain situations that are textbook that we go through in life. Do a little role play there and teach, and our adults as well need to get a little schooling on how to act. Yeah. How to act.
See, and that's one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, is because although you will teach the children how to act, when they go back home and the parents are not behaving in the way that the parents should behave, do you go inside the home and you also help the parents?
Absolutely.
To be able to interact with
Absolutely.
The children?
Sliding scale. If you can afford it, you could pay what it's worth. If you can't, I'll come anyway. That's because I love the Lord Jesus, and He pays me.
Amen.
It's a labor of love. It's my labor of love. I love to see people get along. I love it when I see results like that, and that's my payoff.
Yes. Have you ever thought about training others to do the same thing?
I think that being a mediator, you have to be a neutral. But I think you have to be born a neutral. People just can't be taught how to be a neutral, because a neutral person is one that can really step in, even though you're my friend. Mm-hmm. let's say that I came into you and your family. I know you're
I
my
wish
friend.
you had.
And I would be able to, a real neutral could say, you know what, Alondra, you're my friend, but look, this has nothing to do with friendship. This has to do with right or wrong.
Yes.
And that's what a real neutral is. That's hard to do.
Yes.
That's very hard to do if you're not. And I'm a born neutral. I love people. I love people.
And how is it that someone would be in contact with you?
You can contact me through my phone number or email, Darla Nunes at gmail.com. My phone number is 559-288-1793. That's 559-288-1793. And again, I'm happy to come on site and take care of that conflict and get it resolved. Because if you don't change up your attitude, somebody will do it for you.
Yes, and I see on the bottom of your card it says, learn how to adjust your attitude before someone else does it for you.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens.
Yes.
You know, we need to adjust ourselves a little bit and figure out what works and what doesn't work. If your plan hasn't been working, get off of it. Get on to something that's working.
Yes.
You know, and doing the right thing, I always say, is the hard thing to do. Making everybody around you happy is easy, but it doesn't work.
Yes.
Doing what's right in the beginning looks like it's not going to work,
Yes.
but it always prevails in the end if you can live through it.
Yes. And that's why my greatest idea is to work with the mothers and the fathers, because
Hey,
there are
it
so many.
starts at home.
There are so many that are working with youth that I'm very grateful. You know, that they're working with the youth.
It's
But
sad
I
that the
also have
parents
a
don't know.
concern. Yes, because a lot of the parents aren't involved, and I have a concern about that, because everyone is teaching these youth and giving these youth positive outlets and teaching them how to behave, and then they have to go home to the dysfunctional, home to someone like I used to be.
Yeah.
You know, and
The
it's
whole
like
family has
everything
to
just goes
learn.
right out the door.
The whole
And-
family, it's a learning process.
Yes, and it's very sad, and this is one of the other reasons why I wrote The Process of Change. And my next book I plan to write is called Mother, Where Are Your Children, which are dealing with mothers who are addicted,
They're children
and
themselves.
mentally ill. Yes, and we call that the inner child development, where an adult was not actually allowed to be a child.
That's
and
right.
That's
Yeah.
where that problem begins, because
That's right.
how can you teach someone
Yeah.
something that you have never learned yourself?
That's right. You can't take somebody somewhere you've never been, and that's the truth of it.
Yes.
But we can't change the world, but we certainly can change our community.
Yes.
We certainly can do that. I
Yes.
just there are a few people left in our community that know right from wrong.
Yes.
And those people need to step forth and take a little chip at making our community something, instead of just sitting back saying, we need, blah, blah, blah.
do
Boots
it.
to the ground. Come on, let's do
Yes.
something.
Yes.
And it all takes money. I know that.
I should have brought you on first so I wouldn't be so nervous, but now I'm fine. This is one of the reasons why I love doing this show, because although I may not be able to say it in the right way, I'm hoping that some people can read through the lines and understand that this is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
This is what I'm asking
Step
for us
forth.
to do.
Step up.
Yes, step up into the territories that needs this type of counseling and stuff. I mean, because from my understanding, I mean, CPS, court mandated,
No.
parole, probation,
It's not
all of them,
working.
they're stacked sky high.
It's not working.
And it turns out to be a revolving door. And we as Christians also have so much more to teach a family if they're willing, because we have the godly structure.
Yeah,
in
God
us.
will take care of us if we'll
Yes.
just step up and do the act first.
Yes.
God always he's always there, and I firmly believe that when you're doing the right thing, it prevails again. It's just getting people involved. when I first started, you can't show love unless you've been shown love. And I first started downtown ministry with Ray Polk, Brother Ray, and I went down there by myself, and those people, all ages, young, old, they just want love.
Yes.
Real love. And people know the difference between fake love and real love. Trust me, they do.
Yes.
And that's where my love for people really took off.
And I know that there are a lot of people that are out there that want to do the right thing.
Yes.
And
don't know where to start.
no, they do not know where to start. We're going to take a break for a commercial, and we'll be back with Darla Nunes. Hi, welcome back to The Process of Change. Your host, Alondra Hildreth-Williams. I have my guest on the show, Darla Nunes, mediator, motivator. I believe I said that right?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Now, Darla, I remember when I was in my addiction and I had my children, I remember that all my children knew was an addicted mother.
Yeah.
So they only knew my crazy behaviors, my crazy habit, and it was very hurtful for them. So it didn't matter really anything that they had learned out there, anything that they tried to do to show me love. I didn't know how to do it, and
Right.
I ended up messing my kids up really bad. You know, I still have to suffer the consequences of, the actions that I actually, played in that part.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my kids are grown now, but they still have that inner child where they weren't able to have a childhood, and now I'm trying to break that generational curse so that it won't go towards my grandchildren, because I have my grandchildren
Well,
now.
you had nobody to turn to, though, for any kind of help.
And the help that I did, the help that was trying to reach out to me, I guess either I wasn't ready or I was afraid of success, fear
Right.
that I would fail, and just the way that I was raised. I mean, my mother, she was a ministry of hugs, but I didn't know what love really was. I didn't know what being a child really was, because there was a lot of things that I was experiencing in my household that had made me become an adult.
Right.
And she was not even aware of it.
Right.
And at the same time, I did the same thing. Now, how do you work with a family structure that is like that?
Well, they have to want help. Either the kids, have to initiate it, or my thing is completely different than any other kind of help. I personally go in, and this is where we need more people, like I said, that still have a sense, of, I call it old school, whatever you want to call it. I mean, when I was a kid, even though I was spoiled rotten, we didn't get away with stuff. I mean, you just didn't.
Yeah.
And now it's commonplace. Everything goes. I step in and just with honesty, but you're kind of feeling that you couldn't give your kids because you didn't have it growing up. That's something that God has to teach you and instill you. It has to. That's something that God has to do, as far as taking you where you were and putting you somewhere else. That's not something that you can change, because you didn't get to be a child when you were growing up.
Yes.
So you can't change that. That's something that God will change for you.
Well, I know that God has changed that tremendously for me. I'm not the same.
No.
I am not the same. And I'm still a work in progress.
We all
But
are.
I have been able to show my kids now a different mom. They're not used to it.
Yeah,
They
but you
fight
wouldn't
it.
have this kind of relationship had you not been through what you went through.
Yes, and I wouldn't be able to teach others.
That's right.
Not to do what I've done, and it's been an awesome experience. I don't I don't regret anything anymore that's happened in my life. The last regret that I had was what I had done to my children.
Yeah.
What I had to watch them go through now because of the consequences that I brought upon them, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a very painful situation. And this is one of the reasons why I believe that God had inspired me to write in such a way that I write, to reach out to the people that I reach out to, because everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Nothing is just a coincidence. I mean, there are some things that I believe that I had no choice in, but there's also, I had to take responsibility for what I did have a choice to do. I chose to stay in the addiction for that long period of time.
I call that your schooling. I mean, you know,
school of hard knocks.
you just go to school. You know, whenever you're ready to graduate, that's when God will graduate you. And I say this, some of us are really tough nuts. Some crack easy and some don't.
Well, that's what I call the wilderness experience, where I had to run out into the desert.
Those tough nuts, though, they last.
Be emptied of everything that I had ever known and be retaught.
Yeah.
So that I could come back to Egypt and help save the rest.
Spiritual muscle.
Yes.
Let me say something about spiritual muscle. This is my analogy I like to give. When you go to the gym, you know, and you've got a trainer, and he says, get over there and pick up those 5-pound dumbbells, you know, and he works you out, you know, and then you get done with those and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm about to die. You know, third day, that's when you're hurting the worst. And that's time to go back to the gym.
Yes.
So you get back in the gym and you go to pick up those 5 pounds and he says, oh no, you get up over here to the 8 pounds. That's how you grow muscle. If you stay on those 5 pounds, you're never going to grow. The same thing is in spiritual muscle. If you don't go through something, you're going to stay right where you're at.
And I do also understand that, you know, like, for me, it's hard for my family to accept the help, that the knowledge that I have, the help that I have learned to do for others.
They probably won't, but many, many, many will learn from you. And they will then learn from those people that you taught.
Well, I do praise God that there is someone, you know, that is able to go and to help others.
It's funny because family just won't listen to family. They won't take it from, you know, look, I've been trying to tell you this, you know, forever. But they'll take it from a perfect stranger. It's crazy.
And we always say we don't want to be like our mom and dad, and what do? Yeah. We turn around and we be like our mom or dad. My mom was never an addict, but there were things that I learned from her as you know, as far as being passive, allowing, you know, abuse to continue and not breaking that cycle.
That's another thing that needs to be addressed too, is with the young girls. They need to learn to be. We need to teach them to be assertive in a acceptable manner. You know, it's not all about butt kicking and beating somebody up. That's so old, and it just doesn't work. And that's what our youth is learning. It's just common, and it really bugs. I can't hardly stand it.
Yes,
you know, there's such a easier, better, more productive way to handle situations.
And that's why I say that, you know, the mind has to really be reprogrammed. We have to go from that old mindset and behavior and habits and come into the new. And it's not just for women, it's also for men.
Yes, it
because
is.
There are so many men who did not have fathers. They did not grow up with fathers, and yet they believe that they are men. And
sad.
They're doing the same thing to their children that their fathers did to them.
You know, they want to act like they know what to do, but they don't. They're just repeating what they saw. A lot of times, if there's a problem in the family, and I always like to say, well, how was your mother raised? If she's such a, you know, she had terrible raising. Let's take that into consideration.
Yes.
Where one came from. We can only, we act what we learn.
Yes.
And if you've not seen a correct behavior your whole life, it's impossible for you to
To be able to
reenact.
change.
Yes, exactly.
To be able to change.
We have to be open to change.
And that's why we're asking for contributions, so that we
Yes.
can be able to be equipped to go out there into the environments and help
Community,
and help
Right here in
help
Fresno.
these sorts of people. Yes, Fresno has so
Oh.
many opportunities, but there are so many that do not know how to take advantage of it. So sometimes you have to go into the enemy's camp.
You do.
And take back what Satan has stolen from us.
You sure do.
And this is our goal. This is what we want. To
Yeah.
be able to help those who are helpless, who are homeless, who are just poverty-stricken in
Yeah,
mind,
it's just so sad.
who are learning how to be who they are through television, through the radio stations, through the gang activities, the drug activities, through dysfunctional families. I mean, these cycles really need to be broken, and it takes people like you and I to go out into those territories.
Yeah, and people, they just, being homeless, it can happen to anybody.
Yes.
Me, you, anybody out there. Nobody says, hey, I want to be homeless and I want to sleep out where it's freezing cold. That's bogus. And one time, every time somebody asks me for money, I say, oh, I'll give you some money if I can pray with you. And they're like, okay. This one man said to me one day, he said, ma'am, he said, do you have a minute? And I said, yeah, what is it? And he said, I haven't always been like this. And he wanted to tell me his story. Who are they going to talk to out there? They're
one.
desperate to talk to somebody that's, that will listen.
Yes, and that they consider as normal.
Yes.
When none of us really knows what normal is, unless we're
not
up
anymore.
into the Word of God.
That's right. That's right.
And this is
Better
one
get
of the,
your act back onto God.
Yes, and this is one of the things that I'm trying to get the church and the community to see. When you're looking at people who are homeless, looking at an addict, looking at a mentally ill, you have no idea what they have been through and the person that they can be, just with the love that you can show them. I mean, it doesn't always take money. It takes people coming out and showing.
One person can make a change.
Yes.
One person.
Yes.
One.
Yes. And that's what we're looking for. We're going to take another break, and we'll come back in just a moment. Welcome back to the Process of Change. Your host, Alondra Hildreth-Williams. Darla, I have a question for you. Okay, what is it, because you're a Christian,
Yes.
you've been in church almost all your life.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
A good portion, but I wasn't raised in the church.
Okay,
at
well,
all.
I want you to tell me that story.
Okay. I used to ask God, I'd say, oh, Lord, am I really making a difference in anybody's life? And he showed me, indeed. We just don't know it. But one time I was in church in Visalia, and it was a big crowd, and I heard this little voice saying, Darla, is that you? And I looked over, and there was a young lady there, and she said, hi. She said, do you remember me? And I said, oh, love, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't remember you. And she said, I want you to know, she said, you had a big impact on my life. And I was like, oh my gosh. She goes, you used to coach me in volleyball, and you prayed with us before each game. And she said, changed my life, big
Praise
impact.
God.
And
God.
I was so taken by that, because we just don't know it. People don't have the opportunity to come up and say, hey, guess what? But we do have that opportunity to make a change in somebody's life. You see people on TV, and they'll say, one time I heard this person say something or another, and it really changed. Yeah, but rarely do we get to hear it from the person.
Yes.
And I just want everybody to know that random acts of kindness and love does make a difference, because Jesus is all about love.
I want to thank you so much, Darla, for being on my show.
Thank you for having me.
And I pray many blessings for what you're doing.
Yeah.
I pray that you be able to get the funds that are needed so that you can begin your organization and
Role
just
play. By case
continue to
scenario.
remember her in your prayers. Continue to remember her in her prayers.
Jump in here real quick.
Go.
I tell the young people, I said, you don't want to become a Christian because you're afraid you can't have any more fun. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And they're
yes.
like, well, yeah, I said, that's not true. That's a lie of the devil.
Yes.
You can go to your parties. You don't have to drink. All you need to say is, oh, I'm over that.
Yes.
And those young adults, your friends, are going to be asking what you got because
Yes.
they're going to want some of it.
Yes. Darla Nunes, thank you again for being on my show.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
And we
Thank
thank
you.
you, and you have a great evening. Goodbye.